Up and going. I always forget I have to open a different tab for that. I'm trying to get better at this, but I was doing great until I hurt my arm. Let's pull that up here and make sure we're live here on YouTube. Let's go to my channel. Sorry I'm late, guys. I'm doing the best I can with this. It's crazy. There we go. We're on. Let's just turn the sound off on that. Hey, if you're here and you've not subscribed or just turn this camera just a little bit. If you've not subscribed or, hit the bell for notifications or you've not liked, please hit like on those because it kinda helps me come up in the algorithm so that more people can find me. Today, I am drinking blue tea. Do you see this? Isn't that pretty? It is butterfly something butterfly tea, pea, sweet pea butterfly tea or something like that, and it looks gray, but it's actually blue. Mm. It's so good. I have it mixed with chamomile and spearmint. So pop a little note there in so I can see what you're drinking. And like I said, I don't care what you're drinking. I won't judge you. I'm just getting a few things set here while we get going. Hopefully the chat screen will work this time. And let's make sure we're up on Rumble. Sorry, guys. I know it takes a minute. I need to have probably an opening video so I can check everything while you guys are watching a video and you don't have to hear me talk about how I'm checking everything. All right, let's make sure that's good. And the volume's off. Oh, and I need ears. I have no idea how I'm going to do this. I can probably get this one in. There we go. Okay, I've got an echo somewhere. You guys hearing an echo too? That ought to fix it. Let's make sure YouTube's not got volume on. Oh, what a day. Coffee. There you go. Where's the sound on this one? Let's mute that. Okay, now that should be good. That should fix the echo if you guys were hearing it. If not, I wasn't. It was making me a little crazy. And so I have this huge, ridiculous brace on. Surely to goodness, there is something more streamlined available than this. I'm making some adjustments here. This thing is ginormous. It's got this huge pillow in it. I don't know if you can see that. And it's, oh, I have a hard time getting in this chair because I'm so short. We're going to get a new chair soon. You guys just have to work with me here for a second. Oy. Okay, good night. Lord bless me. Margaret's got coffee. Rose has got coffee. Man, I miss coffee. I wish I could drink coffee. It just tastes weird. I know there's all kinds of extra noises going on because I'm messing around here. Our light's weird. I'm just going to do the best I can. Hope you're doing well. Hey, AJ, I'm having a. So I separated my shoulder, apparently, is the story here. So back in August, we went camping and I probably shouldn't. It's 7:15 here. No, don't do it. You'll never sleep. Um, we went camping in August and we were loading stuff up in the camper. So the camper sits up in the back of the truck. And so it was up high, right? And I'm 5'2" with shoes on. Um, and I had grabbed up onto the handle and pulled myself up. And I don't even remember how I slipped, but I slipped and I grabbed both handles with my hands and I was just kind of dangling by my hands because I'm not tall enough for my legs to reach the ground when it's up in the truck. And it was bad, like, it was really hurting. I immediately developed, like, a knot on my shoulder over here, and I thought, "Well, they never do anything about shoulders anyway." I've had a rotator cuff repair on that shoulder years and years ago, and so I was just thinking, "Okay, well, I'll ice it, nurses, rub a little dirt on it, it'll be fine." And so that was August 7th that I heard it. Well, we were over with, and I've, got it settled down and then it flares, got it settled down and then it flares. Well, we watched the grandkids last Friday night. Today's Friday? What day is today? Monday? I'm so confused. My whole time is messed up. Today's Monday. So Friday before last, we watched the grandkids, and I don't know why I cannot hear me. Um, you guys can hear me, right? That's weird. All right, well, it is what it is. I'll have to figure it out after. Um, but anyway, I was playing with the grandkids and my granddaughter who's 7, I was showing her how to do a backflip, And so I was spotting her for it because I used to do gymnastics as a kid. So I was spotting her and then, holding her so that she could do the back bend and grab the ground, and then using my other hand to help her bring her legs over. And, kids, they flail and this is how you get hurt helping with these sorts of things. But I don't know what I did, but by the time we got home, I was like, "Oh my goodness," and I had this bigger knot on my shoulder already, and, so I took off my shirt, and you could see this, like, bump up in my shoulder, and I'm like, "Well, crap, I'm gonna have to go to the doctor for that." So Tuesday, I was getting ready to go vote, I called the doctor, I'm like, "Hey, can I get in? Why is there no sound?" Um, and they said, "Yes, come on in." So I went and voted, went to the doctor, and I don't know if you guys I can't remember if I put a picture. It's not my X-ray, but it is an X-ray. I couldn't actually get my physical X-ray, which I wanted, and I didn't get a chance to take a picture of it. Um, so, she's like, "You've separated your shoulder." And I thought, "Well, that doesn't seem right. Like, how could you separate your shoulder and your one arm not be longer than the other?" But I was thinking of a dislocation. So when you dislocate your shoulder, you pop the arm bone out of the shoulder socket. I didn't do that. What I did was I tore the ligaments that hold the collarbone to your scapula, your shoulder blade in the back. I didn't even know those two things held together. And the bump that is in my shoulder is my collarbone popping up. You can hear me good. Um, so I don't know, I I kept icing that bump and massaging it, and it would just hurt so bad, and it wasn't as bad before as it is now. It's really bad now, but, yeah, I've completely tore through those ligaments, and so we're waiting to get into an orthopedic doctor to see if, uh, we need to oh, there we go. I've got sound now. To see if it's gonna take surgery to fix it or what, but until then, I have, like, 5 no, 4 braces because you can only I don't know if you guys have ever hurt your if you only have 1 arm, my hat's off to you. I don't know how you get through life. You are an incredible human being. I mean, I suppose if you were born with only 1 arm, you've kind of always been used to but if you, like, lost an arm somewhere in life after you learned to use your arms, hat tip, I don't know how you've done it. Completely helpless. I and this is the side I sleep on, of course. It is my non-dominant arm, so that's good. But, like, I can't even really use both hands because of how this thing is strapped down, and when the other brace is on, it straps my arm to my side and to my stomach, and it wraps around my stomach, and I switched to that one because I had neck surgery years ago, and this only works for so long, and my neck starts to hurt, and I start having, like, weird visual things, so I have to switch out. I can't do crap. I can't. I'm like, "What am I gonna do? How am I gonna fix my hair?" Don is no help with this. I Have you all ever, like, let your husband try to fix your hair? You should do it just one time so you can see what kind of wreck you're gonna be. And so my friend Wolf, that's the little handles we use on Rumble. My friend Wolf was like he's like, "Just put a hat on," and I thought, "Crap, why didn't I think of that? I could have just been wearing a hat this whole time." But everything else was difficult too. No, I'm right-handed, so it's on my left hand. Um, AJ says, I have a friend with 1 arm. She was hit by a truck at 20. Oh my gosh. She does well for herself. Her sister, who was also hit by the truck, died. Oh, yeah. So she's just happy to have, yeah, 1 arm is the least of her problems. Bless her heart. Well, now I feel bad. Um, but I imagine it was a big adjustment for her to go down to 1 arm. I've seen a lot of people that have had blood clots after the vaccines and stuff and have lost an arm or lost a leg. And man, I feel for them. It is just, you're just so used to having that other hand to do things, and I can't do anything, like, I can't even open a can of cat food with that hand because it twists the shoulder just a little, you just don't how, like, if you had kids and you had a C-section, and before that you had no idea everything you used your stomach muscles for, and then you have a C-section and you're like, "What the crap? I can't how do I" how do you do anything? It's crazy. But anyway, I wanted to start with showing you guys this video, and we're gonna keep it to time, even though I'm running late, which I apologize. That is a cheat on you guys, and I feel bad about that, but I'm doing the best I can. Let me pull this up. I hope your however long it's been since we've talked is going well, and is much less eventful than my life has been this last couple weeks. Let's see if I can do this. I wonder if can I show a YouTube video while streaming to YouTube? We're gonna find out. Yes, go to YouTube. My computer's like, "Really? Do you wanna do this?" I'm like, "Well, yes. Why would I have indicated that was my desire if it had not been what I wanted?" Let me find my page here. Okay, so let me pull this up. Stop. So I made this video the other day, and it's called "How Will You Be Remembered?" And it's an important video, and I'm finding in an ever in a society that's growing ever more narcissistic, it's a really important question because I feel like we've got a whole generation of people that are just completely focused on themselves, and that's all they think about, and making sure that you treat them the way they want to be treated and beating you down if you don't agree with the way they live, and I'm like, "Wow, when did the whole world become about you?" There are much bigger things going on than, who you perceive yourself to be and bludgeoning everybody with that. I find it really exhausting, and not because I have any issue with people perceiving themselves to be one way or another, but just because for some reason, need to be beat to death with it. And I'm guessing I'm not the only one in that boat, but, let me share this with you, so I wanna watch it together. Um, Share. Come on now. There we go. No, not an extra camera. What on earth? There we go. I'll get it yet. Just hang in there. Chrome tab. This one. Hopefully it doesn't knock us off. If we do, I'll come back. Don't fret. Here we go.
Just the sight of you when I'm at my weakest point makes a world of difference, oh you make me strong. Pretty little thing, you're a diamond in the rough, shining from within. I can tell that you're tough. Ordering a cup of love, feel it rising up and above. You will always keep my heart and soul strong. Plant your seeds and watch them grow. The light will always know where to go. You will always keep my heart and soul strong.
Anyway, it's funny. It's like a 37-second video, and it took me all stinking day to make it. My hair's looking great. I went and bought extra hair because, how are you gonna have your husband fit your hair or fix your hair? So that's helping. Um, for anybody who doesn't know my hair story, you can go back through videos on, Facebook, about my love of extra hair. Nope, it's a crapshoot, but God is good. Yes, I hear you on the C-section. See, you guys know. Um, nope, yeah, okay, I'm just making sure I'm seeing all your comments. So anyway, it's been this whole week has been crazy and, much more so than I had intended for it to be. You are live on Rubble. Hi, Frugal Tinkerer. I don't think I've met you. Welcome. So, um, how will you be remembered, and why is it important? And I remember one time I was telling my mom, I said, one of my goals in life is that my funeral would be well attended. And my mom said, "You're just so arrogant." And I said, "No, no, no, not for that reason. The reason is that I want to have left such a mark in the world that people feel my passing." And I think that is a good goal for all of us, don't you? Thank you. Uh, I feel like, I mean, if you drop dead today and the only thing that people can say about you is, how much you thought of yourself and how you beat everybody over the head with who you are and made them affirm you, then I don't feel like you've done what you came for. And that's the extreme end. On the other end, I think, especially as women, I think it's easy for us to lose who we are when we get married and we have families, or however you come to the point of having a family, right? And I know that's true for me. So when my first husband and I split up, I remember I was going to therapy and I was sitting there one day and I was an inpatient for therapy. I mean, I just went all to pieces. And I was sitting there and she said to me one day, she said, "Who are you?" And at this point, I just found out my husband was cheating. We lived in a really small town, so everybody knew. None of my friends told me. I mean, it was just heartbreaking. And I just felt like the whole rug of my life had been pulled out from under me, and all I had ever really wanted in life was to be a wife and a mother, and it was just gone, in my estimation. And so I'm sitting there and she's like, "Who are you?" And I just thought, "Oh, here we go with this existential BS. You're gonna ask me these ridiculous philosophical questions when I am trying to just hold myself together amidst my entire life falling apart." And I resented the question. And I said, "I'm a wife and a mother." And she's like, "No, no, those are roles you have in life. Who are you?" And I'm like, "What? I just told you, all the things that those things encompass. That's who I am." And she's like, "No, no. What what are you passionate about? What pisses you off? What what do you feel like you're here for in life?" And I remember sitting there thinking, I don't know. I don't know what I'm passionate about anymore. I don't know what's important to me. I mean, outside of, the immediate things, kids and things like that. Just if all of that had evaporated away, who was I? And it was in that moment that I completely lost it. I completely realized that there was no definable me. Isn't that crazy? And it may sound like a weird concept to you, but I didn't know what I was passionate about anymore. In the world, in the universe, I didn't know what made me happy and what made me pissed off. And, I was operating by, this little person needs to be nursed, that little person needs their diaper changed. And if you're not carefully, you can just lose you. And what was interesting was it wasn't a loss I could blame on my husband, and I knew it in that moment. I'm like, "This isn't him. You gave yourself away a little piece at a time willingly. You did that, and now you don't know who you are anymore." And it was such an existential crisis of the soul, that I didn't know because I used to be a passionate person. I used to have this real issue with injustice, and when I would find something unjust, I was all over it. I get that from my grandmother, and I had lost all of that. I had just become kind of this drone going through my day, making sure that person's nose was wiped and this person's butt was wiped and that person's dinner was done and where's my shoes? And you know what I mean? It's really easy to happen to us. And this is kind of what happens when you get to that empty nest stage of life. You've been in that mode for so long, you've forgotten who you were outside of children and marriage. And when I realized it, that I had no idea who I was anymore. There was nothing about me that was just me. I was I was a role that I played in someone else's life, but I didn't have things that were just me. I didn't have hobbies. I didn't have unless I had a hobby that involved doing something for my family. Um, I didn't have anything I was passionate about. There was nothing that I was um advocating for or against. There was nothing, and there is, of course, that part of life when you've got little kids where that is just true. There's just so much, and it's such an adjustment to become a mother, and it was funny. I've got this friend, and she and I, when we get frustrated with our husbands, we text back and forth, and we have a lot of the same frustrations, so it's funny. And, so I messaged to her, I'm like, "If I were, uh, if" so I told her this was a past message, but I was down with something, and I'm like, "I'm down with something, and and if I had to rely on my husband for meals, I would starve to death." And she laughed, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, me too." And so it was like the second day I was in the sling, and my husband's like, "So what are we having for dinner?" And I didn't kill him, he's still alive. He's not buried in the backyard. Of course, I had a spot in mind, but I didn't do it. I didn't act on it because I was like, "You're kidding me, right? You had a hernia surgery, and you couldn't do crap." Like, he couldn't reach his arm to the left, the length of his arm to grab a tissue. And I was like, "You were helpless. I had to make all your meals and bring them to you and rub the bruise lotion on you for you, and you're asking me what I'm gonna make for dinner? Are you kidding me?" And normally, years and years ago, I would have been like, "Oh, I better figure that out." And I'm like, "You're kidding me, right? What are you making us for dinner? How am I supposed to make dinner?" And I push back now where I didn't years ago. Um, Frugal Tinker says, "Last chat about Judy M. and thyroid levels. I'm also sharpening Mac on locals." Oh, okay, I'll look for that. Um, AJ's laughing. Uh, Mama Llama says she's right there, right now. She's there right now with motherhood. AJ, oh my gosh, my shoulder's just screaming. I feel this. I lost myself in bad relationships, being broken and being a mom every day. Yeah, it's easy to have, even in a good relationship, AJ, it's easy to happen. But I think, for those, it took me a long time to sort myself out because after that marriage, I started looking back and I'm like, what is my propensity for choosing men who are not good for me? And I kind of just took a break, and so I got married, right? I married my husband and I met when I was 21, I think. Had my first child at 23, then 25, then 27. 7 years into the relationship, I found out he was cheating. And so that all fell apart. And then I was living with my parents because I had quit school and I got pregnant and didn't go back. Hi, Mark Davis. Um, and then I met a man, and my mom had kind of put out there this idea, not maliciously, but she's like, the fact that this person would even consider being with you having 3 kids. And I just kind of, hi, Emily. I just started having this idea that I would be lucky to have anyone who would have me because I was basically a net loss, right? I'm a single mom. I have 3 kids. I don't really bring anything to this. And so when the first man that I met that was willing to be in that relationship, I married him. Didn't last 2 years, right? Found out he was cheating. And I'm like, "Okay, Penny, this isn't just bad men. There's something wrong with you. There's a reason that you are choosing bad people or people that, you cannot have a good relationship with." And so I just stopped. I quit dating, I mean, for years and years and years because I thought I'm a bad picker and I don't want to ever be in a bad marriage again. Well, God started working on me about that. And he's like, it's not good for you to be alone. You're isolating and I was, but I was isolating. This is part of how that brick wall went up that I talk about in my near death experience. I just didn't want to be hurt anymore. And I am such a trusting person. And I think like when you're not capable of doing something, you just assume, hi Stacy, you just assume that the people that you're connected to in life aren't capable of doing those things either. Like, I guess it's naivete on my part. Hi, Rhonda. Hi, Margaret. Goodness, you guys are popping on. So I just was like, I cannot fathom. I can't even imagine a situation where I would cheat on my spouse, no matter which one. I couldn't do it. I'm not wired that way. I couldn't live with the stress of trying to keep it a secret and getting caught. And there are people, I've been married to them, that just that's the excitement of it for them. Um, they want the clandestine sort of thing. And it would just make me a nervous wreck. Plus, I don't have a great memory. Like the things that I know I can remember well, but chronologically I struggle since all of the comas and everything. And there would be no way I could lie and keep track of it. I would just be horrible. I don't even try because I have enough frustration trying to remember things I need to remember that I'm not about to complicate that with lying. And so it is just shocking to me, even now, when I meet somebody who just easily lies, just like they breathe, because I'm trusting and I am a trustworthy person. So I assume I automatically give them the benefit of the doubt there. Um, Mark Davis says, "Hello, my connection to you is designed. I'm still trying to figure out why. I live near Lexington." Well, hi, Mark. You're not far from me at all, buddy. How do I wait a minute? Let me see. That slid down and I can't see it. Is there a way to hold on? I'm trying to see all of Mark's comment. There we go. He says, "I'm still trying to figure out why. I live near Lexington and have been aware of your story for a couple of years." Well, welcome, Mark. It's wonderful to have a fella in the room. Um, Margaret says, "I went through the same thing, Penny. First husband, and in a tiny village. I can't even put into words how many pieces it broke me into, and my heart was breaking for my girls." That's it. The thing about cheating on someone, especially if you have children, is that you don't just cheat on that person, you cheat on those children, and you destroy a family. And this is part of why I was just ready to what is going on? I'm all frozen up. Uh, I was ready to do some things that would not have been wise because I was so angry. It brings out that mama bear in you, you're like, "How dare you?" intrude on our life and our family and take what isn't yours, and I think that's a well-placed, anger that comes up in us because these are your things, it's the thing that makes you run out in front of a car and push your kid out of the way and take the hit because you don't want to, there's nothing in you that would let your child be injured, and I'd felt that way toward my husband, and I just was amazed that, I remember saying to him, "How do you come home and kiss me and your children with that mouth after what you've done?" I mean, that just seems so unholy to me. These were sacred creations that we had made, and our marriage was, to me, a sacred bond. And so it was just, w I just was shocked that anybody would do that. I have some news for you. Message me. I will do that, Emily. Um, so, in going through all of that, I had to kind of figure out who I was, and it took me a really long time. So before, I met my husband, and we've been together 12 years now. Before I met him, I had just kind of given up on the whole idea of having a relationship because I didn't ever want to lose me again. And what I didn't realize was by isolating, I was still losing me, but not in a way that another person would be involved. And to me, it was better that I do it to myself than somebody else. And of course, I can see this on the other side. And so I have this kind of habit where if I'm going to read the Bible, I just flip it open. I mean, sometimes I go directed and look for things, but I'll flip it open because it's all good, right? And I'll just read whatever's there. And I kept getting these little verses on fish, and it'd be, "I'll make you fishers of men," and the fish and the loaves. And it just kept opening to that. And it kind of became a running joke between myself and God. I would open it up. There would be something on the page about fish, and I would kind of, give him the look and laugh. And he kept pressing me on not being alone and being with somebody and how that could, add to my life and not take from it. And I wasn't on, and I remember telling him, "Look, I've got friends that are struggling, and they really want a relationship. They really want a husband, and I would be happy to give you their names, and you could go and talk to them and help them sort that out because I don't want this." But, God as he is, just kind of keeps, watering the seed, right? And so one day, this thing pops into my head. I'm not advising anybody to do this, but this thing pops into my head, and it's, I was thinking about being fishers of men, and then it was like plenty of fish, and I'm like, "Plenty of fish? Where would?" And so I look it up, and it's a dating site. That is where I met my husband. So I had posted this. I really thought out my profile, and I was like very clear that I'm not into the hookup. If that's what you're into, don't even call me or don't message me, which apparently to many men means message me and see if you can undo that um that decision in me, which made me even more not want to talk to them. I'm like, "Why would you?" Like, I was very clear about, and I'm like, "Did you read my profile?" And I was really honest. I was like, "I'm terrified of clowns and holiday nutcrackers, those are the weird things." And I don't do the hookup, and, to me, that is something sacred saved for marriage, and so then I would get all these weirdos who just wanted the hookup. And so, anyway, I finally, um I talked to a bunch of crazy people. I'd went on 3 really, really crazy dates. I've talked about those before. And I was like, "This is nuts. I'm not these d d dating is, like, way worse than I ever remember it being." But, I had been married since young. And, so then I finally my husband was on, and he was getting ready. He had, I can't remember how many different girls, he had gotten into conversations with and gone on a couple dates with, and it just didn't work out. And he's like, "These women are just crazy." And so finally he expanded his territory like to 50 miles or something. And that's how we found each other. And it's funny because we grew up about 30 miles apart in Michigan. But he's 10 years older than me, so we would have never met. Um, but, when I met him, he read my profile and he was like, "Oh my gosh, who is this?" Somebody with substance and character and, beliefs and things that she's not going to be shaken on. And then we finally met, through, I kind of gave him the runaround for a while because I had had a friend die. And I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to lose anything else. I don't want to risk a relationship." And finally he said, "Just go out with me one time. And if it doesn't work, I'll never bother you again." And I thought, "Okay, fine. If this will get him off my back, whatever." And I was being really snarky about the whole thing, not to him, but to myself. I just was like, I'm not doing it." I was scared. And so we went out, and it was so funny because I had gotten false eyelashes because I had really short, stubby eyelashes at the time. They're much better now. And, uh, and I had them both on, right? And I get maybe 2 minutes from the restaurant, and I feel the one fall and hit my cheek, and I'm like, "Oh, no, my eyelashes," and so I pull the car over in this hotel that is walking distance from this restaurant, and I get out, and I'm, like, looking through my clothes and my bra and my pants and, every little crease in my clothing and the floor, and I'm like, "God, come on, help me." And so then, of course, what do you have to do? You have to rip the other one off because you can't find the first ones, and you're not going with one set of eyelashes on unless you're a lunatic. And so I take them both off, so now my lashes are all clumpy with eyelash glue, and I'm thinking, this is a disaster, it's never gonna work." And I pulled into the parking lot, and there was a man standing out in front with his back to the parking lot at the newspaper machine. And I got out of my car and I walked, so I'm in the second row back, right? So I walk past my car into the first row of parking spaces. And like I said, I've only heard God audibly a couple of times. And I heard, "Get ready. This is the one I've been preparing for you." And he turned around and I was like, "Oh my gosh, he's adorable." And we went in and it was like we'd known each other our whole lives. And it's worked out, it's been hard, but we've put the work in, and I am one to put work in. And, we're both committed to it. And, bless his heart, he was with me through all that 2.5 years of respiratory failure, all the time. We never knew if I was going to be alive tomorrow or the next day. And, even his dad was like, "Why don't you see if you can find a girl, who's in better health?" And he's like, "No, you don't abandon somebody in a situation like this." And so, yes, we built this really tight bond. But in all of that, in like going through the Bible, the thing that I think helped me figure out how not to pick an awful person was that I figured out how God loved me. And I had never thought about that, how God loves you and how God sees you. Because once you adopt the way that God sees you and God loves you, you make different choices. And so I was like, I am a good person. I am loyal. Um, I am strong-willed. When I am in something, I am in it. And and I just started understanding all the reasons God loved me. God loved me because I'm silly and my goofy, irreverent sense of humor. And God wanted me to be loved like He loved me. And so when we were kind of going through this and I was praying, I kept telling God, I don't want to be with somebody. And then one day it just kind of bubbled up in my spirit, what if I send somebody who will love you like I love you? And I laughed. I was totally like Abraham and Sarah in that situation where God tells Sarah, "You're going to have a baby," and Sarah laughs. Well, I laughed. And I thought, "Okay, sure. If you can pull that off, I'll do it." And he did. And it's funny because I had told my husband that story and he's like, "Wow, talk about a high bar to hit." And so I'll remind him of it, if he's just being jerky one day. I'm like, so is that loving me the way God would love me?" Uh, and he's like, "It is a high bar for him for sure, and I'm called to love him the way God would love him." And so that's just kind of my little story of how I started figuring out who I was. And somebody had messaged me today, and I don't want to share her story because it's very personal, but, just completely lost. Just everything in life is going wrong. She's in a very bad place emotionally, physically, the whole thing. And I told her, I said, "There's this course called Operation Solid Lives." And there's several, I think there's 4 units in it, but we took the first one with our church. And it's an online class you can take, Operation Solid Lives. And I have to say, of all of the reading and learning and studying that I've done, that just that first level of that class undid so much of my misunderstanding of who God is and what the Bible is saying to us and who I am in God and how adored I am by God. So if you are struggling and you just don't know where you are and everything seems to be a crap show, I would really recommend that class, and you can do it from home. I can't remember if we paid anything for it. I don't think we did. Let me catch up here. True West says, "I recall you're saying you thought God would highlight your murderous thoughts toward your husband when your life review came up, but he chose your thoughts toward the other nurse." Yeah, wouldn't you have picked that? Like, it's so funny how we kind of paint God that he is like us, and he is so not like us, because that's of course what I would have picked to go over with somebody. Um, Paul says, make sure I get caught up here. Mama Llama says, I had to value myself for the sake of my daughter. I didn't want her to grow up thinking she should be treated like second class. That is exactly it. That's why I left that marriage instead of just staying and letting him cheat and go back and forth, was because I thought, I'm giving them a model for marriage and it can't be that. It can't be that. I can't watch my kids go through that. Paul says, agree. I have the same problem trusting and upfront about things, losing myself in life. Yeah, I'm so glad that translates across the sexes, because I wasn't sure if it was more a female phenomenon, where we get so sucked into like the day to day of childcare. Rhonda had an allergic reaction to eyelash glue on a date. Oh my. Okay, well, I feel better then, because mine was not that bad. Bless your heart. Of course, I'm trying to pull off, glued on eyelashes. It was so bad. The date went great though. Margaret says, I had to just hold on to Jesus and let him drag me to keep him moving. But oh, how faithful he is to that. And Margaret, how many times have I said that? Um, I went out to see a guy that had COVID who I didn't know until this, went out to see him and his wife. And so I was telling him what we were going to do. And he's not a person that ever takes medicine or goes to the doctor, but he was septic. He was sick. He didn't want to go to the hospital. Had he gone, he would have gone straight to ICU. They had told him when he went to the ER just to go home and breathe out of a hot air dryer because the virus couldn't stand the heat. And I'm like, well, you're 104. Clearly the virus can stand the heat. So I had all of these things we needed to do. And it was going to involve him taking a lot of medicine that he didn't normally take. And he didn't want to do it. And I looked at him and I said, look, I know you don't know me. I don't need you to believe anything that I'm telling you. I just need you to hang on and let me drag you through this. Can you do that? And he said, "Yeah." And I went out in the hall and his wife looked at me and she's tearful. And she said, "Can you save him? We have 6 kids. They can't lose their dad." And I was like, "Oh my goodness, this was the sickest one I had taken care of or helped thus far." And we got him through it within 4 days. He was much better. Less than a week, he was back at the dinner table from being septic and having pneumonia in both lungs. Um, and I remember leaving that house because he was the first person I had helped that was as sick as I was when I had COVID. And I left the house and I went to the gas station and I had to pull over and I just started crying because it just hit me how sick I was and how I almost died and how now I hadn't, here I hadn't died and I was being able to help all of these people who were in such bad shape. And I remember just, being ugly crying in the car and saying, "Okay, God, I did my part. I said yes. I developed a protocol. I started helping people. I'm educating, but I need you to bring the healing. I need you to bring the healing because I can't lose this one. I can't, and I've not lost anyone. I've not had anyone end up in the hospital. I've not lost anyone. And we're at 712. I can't remember. I'd have to look on my website. But we've helped a lot of people. It's just been great. It's amazing once you find yourself and you find your purpose, how much good you can do. Um, AJ says, I still think about what you said. You told God, do something, and he tells you, why don't you do something? That's exactly right. I never knew that he's so funny. I was telling people that were really upset about election results. I'm like, because you've got the group that are just really fatalistic. I'll just never vote again, and this is just a mess. And they're just so upset, and they can't find the good in things. And most things aren't all one way or the other. Most things are a mix, and there's of course frustration with that. And so I was saying, um, what are you doing? What are you doing? What effort are you putting forward to bring the change that you want to see? And so many people just don't know what to do. It's not that they don't care. They just don't know what to do. And part of helping them through that is saying to them, what are you doing? Where could you be plugged in? If this is really important to you, what are you doing to help educate other people? What are you doing to support candidates that you feel share your views? Either way, whatever you believe. And it's really important that we always put that locus of control back on the person, because if the control is outside of them, then they're victims. And you always want to help people, empower them to overcome, right? And the only way you can overcome is if you're not a victim, if you know that you can affect the course of your life somehow. This is why I'm all about not telling kids um, that they are perpetually destined to be the victims of unending, unfixable racism or any other ism for that matter. it's important that we don't say that to them, even if it's true. Because once you say that to somebody, you shackle them. You shackle their wrists, you shackle their legs, and they're slaves forever because you can't overcome something that you have no control over, right? In my estimation, it would be better to say to that child or that person, there is racism in the world. Absolutely. I've seen it as a nurse. I've seen a bunch of it, on how doctors treat patients. Um, but that just giving somebody that information, hi Tim, giving somebody that information doesn't fix anything, does it? It just helps them identify that they're now a victim. Well, that doesn't help you do anything. Why would we focus on that? And so to me, it would be better to say there is racism, but let me share some incredible stories with you of people who overcame it. People who overcame all odds, crazy odds, and they won. They won, they achieved. They rose above. Read the story of Denzel Washington and how poor he was and how he went to college and, was not doing well in college. There's just so many people. Martin Luther King, read his story. There are so many stories of overcoming. Do you want to shackle your child's wrists and ankles with victimhood for the rest of their lives? Or do you want to acknowledge that there is disparity in the world, but you have the power in you to overcome it? Because a child will become what you tell them they'll become if you're not careful. And we want to give them the best chance. So, yes, you acknowledge there's racism, just like there's sexism. Just like, if you're pregnant and you go and apply for a job, it's unlikely you're going to get it. And they'll never tell you it's because you're pregnant, right? But women face that. Now, does that mean that I will never be able to overcome a society that operates that way? No, it doesn't mean that at all. It just means I have to keep that in mind, and I'm going to win some and I'm going to lose some. And that is how it is for all of us, and everybody's overcoming something. So I would really encourage people to, part of figuring out how you want to be remembered is figuring out who you are in God. Right? Figuring out who God is. A lot of us have so many misconceptions of God. My impression of God was that he was just waiting to beat you on the head with a boat paddle, because he saw you as a moron and unfaithful to him and messing up every day. And it really changes your relationship if that's who you think God is. That's why I always tell people about that class, Operation Solid Lives, because it really taught me the nature of God and it untaught me things that I was just completely wrong about. I thought God was always standing in judgment of us. I did not realize that Satan is the one that's judging us and trying to convince us that we're less. God sees us through the eyes of Jesus. If you're believers, he sees you through that perfect child of his. And so he doesn't see you that way. And it's hard when we see ourselves that way as flawed, imperfect, stumbling creatures, right? To not assume that God sees us that way too. And a lot of us have tapes in our heads growing up that we believe, that other things other people have put on us that aren't true of us. Let me catch up on comments here. Where's Love at? Welcome from Trinidad. Wonderful to have you here. Beautiful, beautiful place. Hold on, I clicked out of there. Let's see. I don't like to get too far ahead because then I forget what you guys were referring to in the statements. Um, Margaret says, I had to just hold on to Jesus and let him drag me. Yeah, that's right. AJ, I still think about what you said. Yeah, God said, do something. And he said, why don't you do something? Paul says, sounds like me and my wife to now. My wife has stage 4 cancer and I'm taking care of her just like him to you. Yeah, Paul, God bless you. Everybody pray for Paul K. He's over on YouTube there and his wife's got stage 4 cancer and he's helping her through that. I don't know whether her prognosis is good or bad, but either way, there's care and love. And, I've known a lot of people that have had cancers that have been survivable and not survivable. And the care is just as important either way, and being included in the family and having um, the life that you have be one of dignity is really important. Paul, I will definitely be praying for you and bless you for being so dedicated to your wife. Rhonda says, I need to look up your cocktail for the virus just in case. Yeah, just go to Witt, W-I-T-T, health coaching, all one word, .com, and it's there. Hi, Tabitha. Rhonda says, amen. Tim says, hi, Penny. Hi, Tim. I hope I'm not the only person who calls you Tim. I hate that I can't say your name. Um, But anyway, that was kind of where I wanted to go today, was this whole idea of how will you be remembered? And I think a really good way, and the reason it's important that you figure this out about how you want to be remembered is because it will guide you in every decision every single day of your life. And the way you do it, there's a book called The Purpose Driven Life, and I recommend it. The Purpose Driven Life has an exercise in it where you write your own eulogy. And the reason it is important to write your own eulogy is because you are writing what you are hoping people will say about you once you're gone. Once you know that, once you know how you want to be remembered, you can figure out how to live every day. You can figure out what decision to make because you're going to want it to match up with how you want to be remembered when you're gone, right? And so I remember sitting down and writing mine. I can't remember the exact words of it, but it was, I want somebody to get up at my funeral and say, "You know what? Penny was one of those people that just had the light of God bubbling out of her onto other people. You couldn't get near her that you didn't get it on you. And no matter how you felt or how you saw yourself or your life, when you walked up to her, when you walked away from her, you knew you were more." And I thought, if someone, who still gets me, it's a big goal, right? If someone said that about me at my funeral, I will feel like I had lived my purpose in life. So now that I know that that's how I want to my life to have gone, that's how I want people to look back and remember me, it's a lot easier for me to make decisions day to day. Like, if I'm on the fence about doing something, I can say to myself, "Okay, if I do this thing, will it result in, people perceiving me in that way because I lived a life that exemplified that, or will it not?" And then it's really easy to make that decision. And I think we all need to start doing that because I think so many people, I am just, I'm I'm astounded at the narcissism of our society. I don't think it's ever been higher than it is now. I mean, I just see people that are willing to beat down, silence, censor, destroy, wish dead anybody who doesn't agree with them. And I'm like, how do you soundboard anything in your life if everyone in your life just echoes back what you believe and what you say? There's no challenge to you. There will be no growth. And I think if you look at these people and you look at the content they're putting out, there is no growth. They're always in the same place. They're always like, this is who I am, and how they have to explain who they are to everybody. You shouldn't have to explain who you are to anybody. People should be able to know you by your fruit. When they see the result of your life, when they interact with you, the way that they walk away feeling. Do they feel like you poured into them, or did they feel like all you did was talk about yourself and how you identify or don't identify, or or what your political beliefs are, or all these things that we can get rolled into thinking that that's all we're about. And that is such a small fraction. Yes, of course, we have strongly held beliefs on the way we want the country to go. We have people have strongly held beliefs on, who they are as a person and how they express that. Sure, but that shouldn't be your whole life. There's work to be done out there, and it is not all about you. And I feel like I want to like start shaking some people and saying, "Hey, you're a vapor in the wind. You're here today and gone tomorrow. You gotta make the most of what you have while you're here. It is not about you." It's not. Now, does that mean we shouldn't take care of ourselves and we shouldn't honor and respect ourselves and also surround ourselves with people who honor and respect us? Of course not. We need to do that because that helps build us up, right? But this idea um, that we should just just beat people down with who we are and then not accept them if they can't agree with that is going to you cannot create um, unity with division. You cannot build up the culture and the society by tearing it down. You just can't. It doesn't work like that. When you tear it down, it will be tore down and it will be destroyed. And then you will be living in destruction. And then people who are completely self-focused will have nothing to foist that onto. They're going to crash and burn because they count on an audience, right? They count on an audience to continuously validate them. If you destroy all the mores, everything in this world, and we're down to dirt, starting back up, who is going to admire you and affirm you? There isn't going to be anybody. because of the way you're going about it. You get admiration and affirmation by thinking outside yourself, by considering your neighbor as important as you are, by loving your husband or your wife as much as you love yourself. Selfless love is what makes you somebody that is remembered and that is important in this world. If you are just constantly focused on you, nothing around you gets done. And I, maybe you'll have a really gratifying experience, but once you're done, it's done. We have all these people who are just not having children, and they just don't want to be bothered with that, and their dogs are their kids, and I love pets. I mean, we've got a passel of them. Um, but there's no lasting there's no lasting novel that is your life with pets. And now I always tell people, look, if you're a person who's just going to be a horrible parent, kudos on your decision to not have kids, get yourself straightened out. But that's not an excuse for not getting yourself straightened out. It is important that we pass on our beliefs and in our values to the next generation, and that we entrench ourselves in pouring into another generation the things that are important, the culture, all these different things, right? It's really, really important. And I see people getting further and further away from the things that are important in culture. Like I'm trying to arrange Thanksgiving dinner, and everybody's like, well, let's just go out to dinner. And I can just feel that importance of family, and that private union of family just slipping away, like it's not so important anymore. We can just go out to dinner and it'll be the same. And it's not that that's what they're trying to do, but I can see where that could be the result. They're just trying to make it so there's not a lot of work for one person. Um, but I can see where, that was such a strong thing in my coming up, and it was something we looked forward to, and we were always so excited about it. And now it's kind of a last minute, well, what day can you do it? What day? Well, let's just go out to dinner. It'd be way easier. Um, and I just feel like, a lot of people say, well, white people don't have a culture. Yes, we do have a culture. And by white people, I mean Americans. If you live in America, we have a culture here. Whether you're white or black or purple or green, we have a culture. And I always just think that's offensive when people are like, white people don't have a culture. I'm like, yes, we do. What do you? We have a culture. Um, and we want to carry that forward, and we want to include other people in it so people can experience different things, right? That I'm shocked at how so many people see the world now. True West says, I recall you're saying you thought God would highlight. Oh yeah, I read that one. Um, Frugal Tinkerer says, my fiance is agreeing with your love sent by God statement. We met in church, inseparable ever since. That's lovely. RJ, hello, love. Good to see you. Looking good. Yeah, I did the best I could. It took me a long time. Keboe, I think I'm saying that right. Until you've had the honor of helping someone who can't help themselves, you don't understand what a true blessing it is. Yes, it's hard work and it can be agonizing, but you will be transformed. That is so well said. It's so well said. I say to people all the time, people say, gosh, thank you. You didn't, like the friend that is now a friend that who was so sick with COVID. Their kids all sent me little colorings that they'd done and thanked me for saving their dad. And I just, everybody kind of shrugs off that kind of hero role because it just, I don't know, it feels kind of self-indulgent. But it is so cool that those kids realized that it could have gone the other way, and they could have been without their dad, but for a stranger helping them. And it does take a lot out of you. It was a 2-hour drive one way, and taking care of and helping over 700 people in this last 2 years with COVID, and then teaching on it and doing all the research. It's draining. But the thing is, somehow, the more I gave, the more healed I became emotionally. And I tell people this all the time, loving you heals me. And it does. It's like this weird selfish thing that comes back around. Isn't that great? So by focusing on other people, and I don't mean to the disregard of your own needs. As moms, we have to be careful with that because we'll say yes to everything just because, we want to be helpful and we don't want to say no. No, that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about, weighing out the opportunities you can seize or let go, and choosing the ones that will find you in service of another person. It's really important, and it does heal you. Cece says, um, I just moved here to the US. Well, welcome. Where did you come from? And we are going to celebrate Thanksgiving. We will honor with respect your culture that's now ours. That is beautiful. Thank you for that, Cece. And I'm sure you'll be able to put some of your own cultural spin on it, which will be fun. When I was in college, I was really good friends, was still friends with Bettina Booth. She was Book at the time, and her dad's German, and her mother was she was Hispanic or what part of South America she was from. I can't remember. Bettina, if you see this, remind me. But I went to Thanksgiving at their house. And I cannot remember what all they made, but it was just such this Mod Podge of food from her homeland, and then foods that Mr. Book would like, and then American cultural foods that they thought I would like. Mrs. Book was so or Mrs. Booth, no, Book, yeah. Mrs. Book was so thoughtful of other people. We would go and she would do all of our laundry. That woman was just is still is a saint. Um, but it was just so interesting to have this kind of mixed culture Thanksgiving. I'll always remember it. It's forever burned in my brain. AJ says, "I've been smiling, sending love to everyone who crosses my path, even the garbage guys this AM." And they looked at me kind of weird. But, it'll light somebody up. Like, when I go out, I try to find something beautiful in every person I see and then tell them about it. So, somebody will be, maybe somebody is just not a physically attractive person. We all have things that we don't like about ourselves and that we tend to hyper focus on. But I always try to find something, and so I'll say to someone, "Oh, wow, that lipstick looks really good on you," or, "Oh, your hair color is so great. It really brings out your blue eyes." And that person will ride that statement for days, and I mean it. I mean, I'm not just saying throw out empty flattery. Mean it when you say it, because you just don't know what burden that person is carrying and how just that one little kindness from you, spoken out loud, not just thoughts, spoken out loud, will change their day and their week and their life, and how might it make them more kind to the next person they come across who's a little difficult. Emily says, TJ and I are blessed with each other. Yes, you are. He's been my hero, learning and growing with and loving each other, and our imperfections made us true partners we could be and now are. Yeah, Emily and TJ I've known for a really long time. Their little kids used to be in my after school program, and their children actually saved my life. I had a seizure, and I was the only one there with the kids, and her kids called for help. And were able to somehow describe, because kids don't know what the address is at a daycare. They were able to describe the location where we were so that we could be found, and I would absolutely have died. I just had a low blood sugar that caused um, that got so low it caused me to have a seizure. I think my blood sugar was 20 something when I got to the hospital, and that was after having glucose. I'm trying to figure out why my chat thing won't roll. There it goes. Wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. So I wanted to kind of give you guys a trajectory of where I'm going with this. So my plan is that this would be our first talk about um, focusing on how you'll be remembered, and how can we, every time we have a talk, how can we build on that? I really want to build on it. And so, today we talked about, Operation Solid Lives, which is a great class, figuring out who you are to God and who God really is, if you've got some mistaken ideas about God. Um, Also, uh, considering what you want people to say about you once you're gone. Think about that. And I don't mean that in a passing way. I mean, I really want you to write it down. What would be the highest honor, the most wonderful thing that you could hear in your own, and it doesn't have to be the same as mine. I want, we're so individual, and each of us have our own gifts. And, I know Mama Llama is all about making people laugh and smile and helping people find their inner joy. And I would imagine that if Mama Llama were to die and I were to write her eulogy, she would want me to be able to relate that back. And just the little bit that I know of her, I can tell you, her big thing is helping people find that inner joy. Life is so hard, and to help people recenter and remember that there is joy and happiness inside us, and we sometimes have to pull it out on purpose, don't we? And so I think that would be part of what her eulogy might say. Emily has been a wonderful friend to me for many years, and I think that, she would say that she wanted people to say that, that Emily was a person who would stand up and fight for someone, especially someone that no one else would fight for. Emily would want to be remembered as somebody who was there, who didn't just say they'd come by, but she showed up. and she did the hard things to show that she loved a person and that she cared for somebody as much or more than she cared for herself. I really think that would be part of if I was gonna have to do a eulogy for Emily, which I hope I don't have to do, um, that those would be things that I would definitely want to hit on with her because, I've known her long enough to know her life. Cece, did you ever tell us where Cece's with us on YouTube. Where have you moved here from? Um, RJ says, I was terribly depressed and angry following my divorce. I'm sure. I prayed all the time for relief. So many times God sent an angel that would smile at me. What a gift, lifted my spirits. RJ, what's so funny is like you don't realize the impact you have on people. And I get, emails and messages. I try to comment on all of your comments in the YouTube feed or in the comment section. It's amazing to me. People will say, I was considering suicide, and I mean, I get that one relatively often. Um, but I was just sitting kind of doing nothing and listening to a YouTube thing, and then your video popped up just out of the blue, like they weren't looking for it. And it gave me a different understanding of God and of myself and how important I am. And so I decided not to do that. I have gotten 3 just this week, people who told me that they were suicidal. But because I was brave and shared what God told me, even though so many people thought I was crazy, um, it saved their lives. I mean, who and I'm just a person who happens to be able to get that feedback. I think most of you have done things that have probably helped somebody in that kind of situation, and you just might never get that feedback, but no, it's out there. You just don't have a comment section maybe for someone to pop that into. Mama Llama says, Thanksgiving used to bother me coming from a native background. Now I too focus on highlighting what I know from my history. Right. You can bring so much. And think about how and yes, it was not returned in many ways, but rather than focus on the victimization of your people, which there definitely was and continues to be, um, think of how selfless your people were in in welcoming people to the new world. I mean, they without them, we wouldn't have learned the different farming skills and, things that were necessary to live in very harsh climates and there were many Native Americans who were foundational for us in being able to establish ourselves in this country. And so that's how I always try to remember Thanksgiving because there is a lot of hurt there for sure. Um, the Native American people have really and to this day continue to be terribly abused by our government for sure. Um, I think I sometimes wonder if we're just, the plan is just to wait for them all to die off so we can take their land. And I think probably a lot of those people would say that is what it is, and that's sad. And so, Mama Llama, there's a place where um, you could be pivotal in helping those cultures reestablish themselves um, and what a rich culture it is. Wow. I mean, just I've done a lot of reading on Native American culture since my near death experience because so much of what the Native Americans believe as far as their spiritual tie to the land and to creation and to us being tied to each other inextricably comes from that Native American culture. Um, RJ says, had it not been for the Native Americans, the colonists would not have survived. That's exactly right. And RJ says she's thankful for the Native Americans. AJ says, Mama Llama, I totally understand what you're saying. My family is Native too. Yeah, there you go. And so, see, Mama Llama, you've got people even in this stream that realize the contribution of your people um, and just the richness of that culture. Even people come here and Cece was saying that she had moved to our country and was going to celebrate Thanksgiving to honor the culture of the country she now calls home. And I just think that's so cool, and I still want to learn more about her culture. Cece's from Mexico, from the state of Sonora, northern Mexico. We visited many times, but we love living here. People who had been lovely to us, so we are so grateful, and we can't wait to actually give thanks. That's beautiful. My ex-mother-in-law is I can't remember if she's from Mexico, like if she was actually born there or if she was born here, but her mother's definitely from there, and um, she just was such a funny person, because she's like the traditional Mexican Catholic, and they're a little bit superstitious in their thinking, and it's just interesting. And I remember one time she came over, and my son had a fever, and so she cracked an egg and she slid it under the bed and then said a prayer over him, and she's like, that will help him heal. And I just was like, wow, what a rich culture, to have those kind of beliefs and ideas. Frugal Tinkerer says, "Part native here too. Hey, fam and friends." Yeah, yeah. I think probably you could track a good amount of us back and find that. I know my mom's people, my grandfather on my mom's side was Greek, but my dad's people are mostly from here as far as we know. We don't have a great family lineage. Yes, definitely. Welcome to the USA and your first Thanksgiving too. That's pretty awesome. Do you plan to throw in some of your traditional food? I bought fideo noodles the other day because I wanted to make fideo, but I can't remember how to make it, and they didn't have the noodles. And so I bought spaghetti that I can break up, Cece, but it's not gonna be the same. And my mother-in-law always used to get corn tortillas, and she'd cut them up, like, while they're still kinda soft in the package, she'd cut them up, and then she'd put them in a pan with a can of tomatoes, like a sauce tomatoes, um, and eggs, and I can't remember what else she put in there, and for some reason, I woke up thinking about that the other day, and I was like, "Oh, man, I gotta remember how to make that because it sounds so good." Margaret says, "Yes, Penny, I've been learning this recently too. I believe they want them gone because they have a much deeper understanding of our world and are not brainwashed for some of it at least." I just, I know things about even how COVID was handled in the Native American community that just really is heartbreaking to me. I have a friend who's Native American, has Native American heritage close to her lineage, and, she had done some work on a reservation. I can't remember if it was Colorado or where it was, but one of the little boys was telling him, or she had heard this story from a teacher she had asked this little boy why his sister didn't come to school anymore, and he said, "Oh, she can't walk anymore because she got that shot." And it was interesting because it was before the shots were approved for kids. And I was like, "You gotta be kidding me. How did this kid even get a shot?" Just broke my heart. I'm like, "Please tell me we're not experimenting on the Native American children." I mean, it wouldn't be new, but just, I mean, there's so much work for us to do, you guys. Marcia says, "Hi, Penny. Your comments on people randomly seeing your video. I'm one of those." Well, awesome. I was really lost, still lost, but working on me now at one point. I lost it crying while listening. I know the Holy Spirit was speaking to me. Yeah, isn't that wonderful how God can speak through us, and Marsha will get one message and Cece will get a different message, and it'll be just prudent to their own life in that moment. How cool is that? Mama Llama says, "I just learned that folks eat pasta at Thanksgiving." No idea. Don't you do like a lot of people will have macaroni and cheese? Um, I'm trying to think of if we had when I was married to my first husband, if we had any kind of pasta at Thanksgiving. I mean, I remember her making fideo. And it's just like Cece, help me. It's just like, it's, noodles and cooked in beef broth, and then I think there's, like, tomatoes in it and cheese maybe? Do I have it? If Cece, if you have, don't hold out. If you've got a recipe for fideo, send it to me. Put it in the comments section. Cece says, "Haha, the egg. Do not, but I know some that even with a headache, they use the egg thing." So you'd heard of that. What was another one? When I was pregnant with my daughter, I was outside hanging up clothes on the line, and my mother-in-law nearly killed herself, and this woman is like she might be 4'7" or 8, she's teeny. She comes busting through that back door 'cause she'd come through the front to come over and visit, and couldn't find me, so she came out back to see if I was out there, and I was hanging laundry, and she came and she swiped my hands down. She's like, "What are you doing? You'll strangle that baby." And I was like, What?" She's like, "Put your arms down, you'll strangle that baby." And I'm like, "The umbilical cord is not connected to my arms in any way." But she wasn't having it. "I'll hang those clothes. Just sit down, just sit down." And then, I remember her telling me, um, I wanna say it was like to put a blanket over the top of the car seat so that people wouldn't stare at the baby or give the baby the evil eye, or I can't remember how that one went. It's a long time ago. My kids are almost 30. Um, RJ says, "Okay, this just hit me when you said 'my first husband.' I will say my worst husband." I don't know. The first and the second are a pretty close tie. Um, she's gonna write it down for me. Thank you. Um, she says, "I want to do a traditional menu: turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, pumpkin pie." Oh, that'll be so fun. Um, I was trying to think if we have my mom or my dad always makes, banana pudding, and he uses a recipe that has sour cream in it, and it is so good. I'm looking forward to that. Um, we did actually decide to have Thanksgiving at their house. We're gonna pitch in a lot because 'cause they're older and it's hard for them. Um, I'm trying to think of, like, unusual, like, what's do you guys have something that's traditional that you don't think a lot of other people would have at their Thanksgiving? I mean, we have all the usuals for sure. My dad makes magic bars, which are like graham crackers with evaporated condensed milk on top and chocolate chips and coconut and nuts. And then we have to find something, generally gluten free for my mom. She can eat the banana pudding, and I think we got some gluten free graham crackers. She gets really, really, really violently ill with gluten. She's not just like the person that's like, I just am not doing gluten this week. No, no, it'll kill her. Um, AJ says, all this talk about food, now I'm hungry. I know I hadn't really put a lot of thought into Thanksgiving until just like today because we finally nailed down what we're gonna do. Um, but I was trying to think, is there anything I used to make this red velvet cake. And so you use the red velvet cake mix, but then I put almond extract in it because it kind of gives it this amaretto taste. And then I always use a whipped cream. Oh, mole. Um, I always used a whipped cream frosting because I don't like that heavy canned frosting. And so I'll either whip my own cream or get whipped cream, and then you can stabilize it with either uh, you can use cream cheese, or you can use like the whipped cream cheese, or you can use just kind of just put it in and watch different flavors of pudding mix, and it'll stabilize your whipped cream so that it holds up on a cake like frosting. And it doesn't take a whole lot of it. You just keep whipping it and watch the textures. You're putting it in, and you'll figure it out. You can also do that with Jello. So if you want to make like a strawberry whipped topping, you can stabilize it with Jello, and it'll hold up. Um, Rose says mole and pozole. Did you mean mole the first time and it corrected it? I don't know what the other one is. And welcome, Rose. I'm Mexican. Yeah, I kind of caught that. Emily says TJ makes some. Hey, Rose, how do you feel about Latinx? My kids are part Mexican, so I asked them, I'm like, what would you want to be called? But all my kids look white. The boys are darker for sure. Um, but I'm like, do you want to be called Latinx, or what is I'm like, who came up with that term? I don't think it was the Mexican people. Um, Emily says TJ makes some dish with corn chips in it that is Mexican. We have it every year. It's not oh, I can't remember who used to make it, but it would have like corn chips and like a meat sauce, a cheese and meat sauce, and it's really, really good. Like for the appetizer waiting for dinner. Mama Llama says, I mean, for us, deviled eggs are a staple for sure. And if you didn't know, I told my mom this a couple years ago, and she was blown away because she's like, I love to make deviled eggs, but I never can get them to peel clean. And I told her, I said, you can buy already peeled deviled eggs at the grocery store. It is the, to me, that is the achievement of our time, not space travel. Not that we can do this. It is that you can buy already boiled and peeled eggs. I mean, it is a huge time. You just cut those suckers in half, pop the yolks out, and you've got deviled eggs in no time. I'll make deviled egg salad with them. It's so good. Um, AJ says, or Mama Llama says, angel cake to balance. Oh, yeah, I like angel cake. AJ says, my Norwegian grandma would make magic bars. Lefse, I don't know how to say that. Flatbread. Oh, yeah, flatbread. And red velvet cake. I love red velvet cake. I'm a sucker for cake. Um, Marcia says, my husband is Italian. His family has clams and spaghetti. Oh, that's interesting. Wedding soup. I love wedding soup. Crepes and the traditional turkey lettuce salad is the last thing served. Really? It's always a jaw drop. Okay, Marcia, how far are you away? 'Cause I think I'm going to Marcia's place. I'm gonna round it out by going by our Mexican friend's place because they got some good stuff that they could make, I'm sure. Emily says, I cannot for the life of me remember what it's called, but it's just what What did we used to call that? We used to do it with Fritos. You guys remember when you'd get the Fritos and you'd pour chili and cheese? Frito pie is what we would call it. But I think you're using like actual corn chips, right? Not the Fritos. Margaret says, AJ, I love that you guys talk to each other. The community is so important. AJ, I'm just wishing I could go to a Thanksgiving meal. I'm in Scotland. Oh, and we don't celebrate it. It sounds like a great day. Well, Margaret, just have a Thanksgiving meal. You really, if you want to do a traditional Thanksgiving meal, you just need turkey, um, and mashed potatoes, stuffing, some cranberry sauce, throw in some vegetables. What am I missing, guys? That's like your basics. Rose says pozole is one dish and mole is another. Yeah, mole is like a sauce, right? Marcia's in Philly. Dang it, that's a drive. If I get out to do a talk that way, Marcia, I'm going to hit you up. AJ says, Margaret Doherty, it's a day of eating nonstop and laying around. Well, AJ, now let's be fair. Let's be honest with Margaret. It's a day for all of the men and the non-cooking people to lay around while the cooking person kills themselves to try to get it all on the table hot at the same time. And then you watch everybody eat, and then they all kind of disappear while you clean up the kitchen. I'm trying to reroute that in our family. Um, RJ says pre-cooked bacon would wait. Let me go back. RJ says we had celery sticks stuffed with pimento cheese. Oh yeah, I haven't had that in forever, pimento cheese. Pre-cooked bacon would be great. Pumpkin or pecan pie, yeah, or both. I'm a big fan of I can't eat just but a sliver of pecan pie. It's so sweet to me. But I like apple and cherry pie. I'm not a big pumpkin pie fan. I'll eat a little bit of it though. Um, I used to when I was doing keto, which I need to get back at to look at this space. Um, when I was doing keto, so if you go on YouTube, I have a channel called Keto Poppy. I have not put anything on it in forever, but I think my keto cornbread recipe is on there. It's made with almond flour, which lends itself really well to cornbread. And then I think I've got a stuffing recipe on there that was just incredible, also made with almond flour. So if you're doing keto, it's Keto Poppy, all one word, KETOPOPPY. I don't know how I came up with that name, but I haven't put anything on there in a while because I was building that channel when COVID hit, and so I shifted gears. Yes, absolutely. You cook all day. And the day before, I try to make some stuff the day before. Or you know what we did one year, Emily, don't tell. We went up to what's that the food wholesaler place that you can go to in Lexington. It's over there in Hamburg, like behind kind of over by where Malone's is, I think. Um, But you can buy, like, the big trays of pre-cooked mashed potatoes, and when I was really sick and we didn't know if I was gonna make it from day to day, we did a Thanksgiving where we got their macaroni and cheese, their mashed potatoes. We did a lot of the big things that way pre-made, and it was a lot easier for me. Oh, Margaret's husband cooks too, so that's good, or is the cook, she says. Yes, somebody does have to cook. That is just the bummer of it, isn't it? I think if everybody brings something, it's a lot easier on that person, but still, like, I spatchcock my turkey. I don't know if you guys do that, where you remove the backbone and then just flatten the turkey. It cooks a lot faster, it doesn't get as dry. You can just look it up, spatchcock, SPATCHCOCK, turkey, and it'll tell you how to do it, but it cooks, like, in just a couple hours. Um RJ says, "You forgot the pie." Oh, when I told the person from Scotland. Yeah, that's right. Pecan, pumpkin pie, apple pie, cherry pie. Um, you were raving about the pre-made deviled eggs, and I added pre-cooked bacon would be amazing. Yeah, I keep pre-cooked bacon on hand because it's such a mess to make. M. June, hey. Hey, Penny, I'm late to the party. I'm keto. I'm definitely gonna hit up your YouTube channel. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do some keto, I'll probably do some keto cornbread and a keto stuffing this year because I really like both. You do CPR, that's it. Spatchcocking a turkey is where you do CPR on your turkey before you cook it. You cut out the backbone, then you put your hands on top of it. You do a good couple CPR, compressions until it breaks. I know, it just sounds so if you're vegan, I'm so sorry. Until it breaks, and then that kind of flattens it down, and it cooks so much quicker, and it's not dry. Yeah, you know where I'm talking about. It's like initials or something. Um But their big trays of mashed potatoes are good. I put some butter and cream cheese in them. I always use the whipped cream cheese and mashed potatoes, and I always make mashed potatoes if I'm making them with heavy cream. I don't use just milk. I'm the NGC, says Paul, not good cook, but I'm the cleanup guy, kitchen guy. Hey, look, if you'll clean, I'd much rather have volunteers to clean than cook. I become the cook and bottle cleaner. Don't understand cooking, but attempting to be one. Don doesn't cook much. Like if I lost both arms, the man would starve to death. Um, he'll reheat. On the one thing, his claim to fame is that he makes homemade potato chips that are really good, and he makes a macaroni and cheese that my kids ask for. So those are the two things. That's it. He does toast. He can cook. Um, he was single for 3 years before we met, and I think it was so traumatic for him that he just never has any desire to cook again. Can you guys see that my tea is blue? I wish I could show you so you could see it. It looks kind of gray on screen. Let's try changing this. Well, that won't work. Let's try this. Okay. Maybe it'll look blue under that light. Do you see it? Isn't that cool? If you don't put, it's blue, but if you put lemon in it it's butterfly pea flower tea. But I've got it mixed with chamomile and spearmint. It just looks gray on the screen no matter what I do. Look at that chin. I can see me from the side. I'm working so hard to lose weight. It is just not happening. And then the arm thing hit. I'm the not good cook. Okay, I'm just making sure I got everybody's comments. Let me flip over here and make sure I'm not missing anything. What is that place called, Emily? It's going to drive me crazy. Rose says, I have really good memories of Thanksgiving Day as a child. Now it's been years that my family doesn't get together. All my families have separated due to gossip and wrong thinking of each other. Yeah, Rose, somebody had sent me a comment asking that I would pray for their family because they're struggling with family division. And there's so many families. You're not alone in that. There are so many families struggling with that right now, with division, where they're not welcome because of how they felt about different COVID things or about elections. I'm amazed that we're in a time like this. I would never consider not having somebody over because of their political beliefs or their COVID beliefs. But we did face some of that ourselves too. So I totally get it. Mama Llama says, wait. Rose says, now my kids won't experience what I did as a child. Yeah, that is hard to kind of grieve that changing of the guard, isn't it? Mama Llama says, Paul, just learn how to make flavor bases. Okay, I don't even know what that is. Margaret, mine loves to cook, but I hate the mess he makes. It's much bigger than the one. How does that work, AJ? So my son, both of my boys are really, really good cooks. And my son-in-law is a really, really good cook. My youngest son, you would think that he had fed 50 people in that kitchen if he comes over just to cook for us. I've never seen such a messy cook in my life, and I'll tell him, I'm like, "Sweetheart, go ahead and run hot soapy water in the sink, and then as you go, you can drop things in there and, get him pre-cleaning." He's never gonna get it. Mary Claire says, "Hi, Penny. My name is Mary Claire. I have an NDE question. Shoot. Does God give you the option to skip the life review? I'm not a horrible person or anything, but I really don't want to watch the bad." Um, Mary, or Mary Claire, when you get there, no, it was never offered to me as an option. It was more, it's not what you think. It's not for judgment. It was more like to give me, and let me explain. This is a near death experience. I have no idea what happens when you really die and you stay out of your body. Um, thank you, Mama Llama. Um, I was not given a choice. It was just something that happened. And while I was nervous about it, there was no like judgment. I didn't feel shameful in front of God. He was just showing me the good and the bad to help me learn. Kind of like, when my son was little, he was just a bull in a china shop, right? So he would just run headlong. And I remember when my daughter was little and was crawling, my son would run and he'd trip over something and he'd fall and he'd cry and like sometimes even get hurt. And then he'd be running and he'd trip over it again and trip over it again. And finally, my little girl who was just crawling would go over and she'd grab whatever that thing was and pull it out of the way so that he wouldn't trip on it. That's kind of what it was like. Like she's not judging him. She's just like, oh, I can see that you've not developed enough wisdom to just move that thing so that you don't fall over it and wreck your face. So she went over there and she moved it for him. At a much younger age, she was able to do that. That's kinda how God sees us and our mistakes and stuff, especially honest mistakes or things that we did because we weren't emotionally mature or whatever. God sees that and he knows where we were when that happened. So he's just showing that to teach us. And he didn't even pick the things I thought he'd pick. So what the heck? I wasn't even close on that. Hold on, I'm going to slide up so I can see this comment. Oh, shoot. See, man, she just got right there with it, didn't she? Hold on, let me. I gotta have this. Oh, is it not going to let me copy it? What the devil? Show. Okay, here's her recipe. Wait, show. For Fideo. Can I copy it off the screen? I can't. Can we scroll it? No, it's so frustrating. No, I don't want to block you. Can I star it? Will that keep it? I don't know. Okay, I'm going to hide this. When I can't believe it won't let me copy that. And it's on Facebook, of course. Hey, well, you can't do that, can you? Hold on. I got to figure out how to get this recipe. It's super important. Golden tomato mixture once it boils. Okay, it's not going to let me do it. Dang it. The thing is when I get done here, but it's a Facebook comment, so I should be able to go back and find it. On Rumble, when people leave me a comment in the Rumble rant section, once we get done, those are all gone. You can't see them anymore. She's going to go to YouTube. Thank you. Paul K says, my wife loves cooking, and another reason I married her, she's the most godly woman I've ever met, and no, God gave her to me to take care of and to do what he's been doing for years before her cancer. That's wonderful. What a testimony to her. Tim says, finally, my favorite topics. Oh, you're so funny. I'm trying to get to that comment below it. Wait, hold on. I missed a bunch over here. RJ says, no, M. June says, my father-in-law brines the turkey 24 hours. I brine too. I just put it in a big old bucket with a lid on it with ice water and just a ton of salt. And that keeps it from drying out. RJ says, I taught mine to clean as you go. I taught mine too. They just don't do it. Wipe up spills, wash dishes. Yeah. RJ says, Penny, did you see the X-Files? I have not seen it yet. I have been kind of out of it on the couch with medicine for my shoulder. Yes, definitely praying for your wife, Paul. And I hope she has a nice holiday. Margaret says, my kitchen looks like a tornado hit it after he's done. I feel bad. I really need to learn to lighten up. It is hard because you're like, why would you not? Because once everything's dried on, it's so much harder to clean. And you're thinking to yourself, you could have just thrown this in the hot water. Cece says part 1. She's posting the recipe on YouTube. Hey guys, if you don't follow me on YouTube, it's I can't remember. Just go to YouTube and look for Penny Wittbrodt, and then I have a channel there. If you want to get Cece's recipe for Fideo, which I am just over the moon about. Cilantro, chili, cloves of garlic, noodle, cup of water, 5 cups of beef or chicken. Man, my mother-in-law was working way harder on this than I realized. Or broth, blend water, onion, tomatoes, garlic, strain. Put the necessary oil in the pot, put the chili and fry it a little so that it releases the flavor. I think she didn't put the chilies in it because I don't like stuff really hot. Add noodles and brown, move constantly. So is there cheese in it at any point? Maybe I put cheese on the top because I'm a white person. Oh, cilantro. You guys are killing me. I'm starving now. I didn't eat lunch before I got on. I'm like, oh, I gotta hurry. Thank you all. Taking her to see grandchildren for Thanksgiving. That's wonderful. Paul, you're close, right? You're in Lexington? I think it was Paul that was in Lexington. I have a hard time keeping track of everybody. But we'll definitely be praying for her. How is my shoulder? It is just, I don't know. I don't want to discuss it. It's awful. The bone is still popped up. And I have to have like all of my clothes on today. So the strap on my bra hurts it. I kind of got it pushed over. It's just, I don't know. I think we're going to have to get to the orthopedist to get any kind of relief with it. Maybe get a steroid shot, hopefully not surgery. I'm hoping just some physical therapy, but I have to keep it immobile for 3 weeks. So today's Monday, tomorrow's week 1. And I've failed terribly. I'm sucking at week 1. I'm hoping week 2 is better. It's just frustrating to not be able to do I just want to do things. I don't want to wait for Don to do them. I don't want to have to go and get him to do something. And he's, fussing at me. Stop it, I'll get it. Put the necessary oil in the pot, put the chili in, fry it a little so that it releases the flavor, add the noodles. Oh my gosh, I'm going to Cece's house. She's too far away, doggone it. Cece, where'd you say you were? Rose says, my son's been getting vivid dreams. Interesting. I really believe God is working through all of us. Me too. My son's only 16 years old. God is definitely using younger. Hey, Rose, is he vaccinated? I ask you that because I happened across an article the other day about people who are vaccinated reporting really vivid dreams, with the COVID vax particularly. Tim says, in paradise, we will cook never again. That's right. No sickness, no getting older. Men will be, you know what's funny, Tim, that you say that? You're like, men will be 33, women will be 18. The 18 part I don't know about, but when I would, when I saw people in heaven, that's about the age they were, 30s, men and women. It wasn't different for women than men, but it was kind of, unless they died younger and then they were that age. But people who had died older were their younger selves there, which was really interesting. Oh, yeah. Okay. So Rose, just Google that. Google COVID vaccine vivid dreams. I read probably 13 articles on it the other day. I know that's like over the top, right? You should stop reading at 2 or 3, but I had to keep going. Um, don't use a bra, anybody anymore. I'm telling you, if it were not for getting online, I would not wear a bra. It's just getting online. I want to be kind of put together. Um, nobody cares. Well, I've realized that the way I've got the camera, I have too much headspace, but at this setting, I probably could get away with it. Chandler, Arizona. We were in Phoenix. I want to say before COVID, like or no, 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 it was after COVID. So maybe 2 years ago, we were in Phoenix when we filmed the documentary there. We were in. I know we went to Chandler or somebody there was from Chandler. I was amazed at how many people who followed me on Facebook live in Arizona in the area that we were in. Margaret says, yes, me too, Penny. Tim Truth has a video on the BitChute of Vader's reports regarding night. Oh, I've not seen that. I'll look that up. I follow Tim. So I follow him on Rumble though. Vares, interesting. Hi, Trish. Welcome. We're getting ready to wrap this up. Yeah, that's interesting. You're the first person. Of course, I don't think maybe people automatically put that together that the vivid dreams are related to or started after the COVID vaccine. So I'll be interested to see what the take is on that neurological effect because it shouldn't be able to get in your brain. Um, Rose is in Phoenix. Yeah, a bunch of people live in Arizona that follow me. My BFF lives in Chandler. Spent lots of time there. Nice. Yeah, you're originally from Arizona, though. Isn't your dad there, Emily? Paul says, no, stuck in San Antonio, Texas from wife's cancer from Montana, family in Kansas. So you don't live in San Antonio? Are you there in Texas getting treatment? I know Montana. I've got some folks I know that the daughter needs a kidney transplant and they can't get it done in Montana. Family in Kansas, God sent us to pray for elected officials in every capital. And she went with you. Wow, that's nice. Wow. Here I'm complaining about a shoulder, and your wife's got stage 4 cancer and is traveling to Texas to pray over state capitals. That's amazing. What dedication. I tell you what, if she lives another 50 years, that's gonna be the story told. Or not even. Rose and Cece are neighbors. You guys all have to get to know each other. Uh, Mary Claire lives in Joyet, Illinois. I used to live in Illinois. I used to live in Highland Park. Um, Rose says, yes, we are. It's so funny. You guys, I love that about Facebook when I was still doing live streams on Facebook all the time, because everybody in the streams developed friendships and got to know each other and they still talk to each other, which is just, I love that. I love that that can be part of this. Yeah, TJ's from Arizona. That's right. His family all live there. You're from Hopkinsville. Really? I don't know why I think I thought you were from Arizona because I thought you met TJ when he was stationed there. See, I told you my chronology stinks. Um, RJ says, I gotta go. Good to see you, and I hope your shoulder pain is gone and the bone goes back into place. Me too. Help it by not using it. I know, I know, I know, I know. I'm trying not to. I keep telling myself every time you raise your hand over your head, you're setting your healing back. Mama Llama's in South Georgia. Nice. I'm trying to think what we went to. We went to Georgia when we bought or no, we went to North Carolina, but we stopped in Georgia when we went and bought the camper or the boat one. I can't remember. Probably the camper. Maybe the boat. I don't know. TJ's from there. Okay. I'm in South Georgia. Yes, in San Antonio. Still living here, says Paul. Not in fifth wheel anymore because of fall. Oh, no. Oh, is it just too cold for the fifth wheel? It's not winterized? We had a fifth wheel for a while and it just was too much. And so then Don was like, we should get a camper that goes in the back of the truck. And I'm like, okay, could we get any more hippie-fied? And he's like, no, no, we'll get one with a slide. It'll be great. It'll have a bathroom. And it's actually better because we can camp just about anywhere now. Catch me up. What happened to your shoulder? So in August, we went to go camping and the camper was up in the truck and I was climbing in, putting stuff in and I slipped and I caught myself, but it was way off the ground. And so my feet didn't hit the ground and I caught myself by my hands and jerked my shoulder. And so I thought maybe I'd torn my rotator cuff or something because it had a lump in it. And I just thought it was swelling, kept trying to massage it and doing like the therapy I did after I tore my rotator cuff years ago. And it would settle down and flare up and settle down and flare up. While we were watching our grandkids the other day, and I was teaching my granddaughter how to do a backflip and spotting her for it. And apparently, when she came back or something, it jerked my arm. And then I had like this really hard knot sticking up. And so I'm like, what is that? Doesn't feel normal. And I couldn't do anything. Like the skin on my shoulder is all completely numb now. It hurts inside, but the skin is numb. So there's probably some little nerve involvement there. But so I went Tuesday I went to vote and then I went to the doctor and she said that I had separated the shoulder, which I thought meant dislocated, but that's not dislocated means you pulled the arm bone out of the shoulder socket. What I did was I tore the ligaments that hold the collarbone to the shoulder blade. And so that knot sticking up is the collarbone. It's popped up because there's nothing holding it to the scapula, to the shoulder blade now. Met TJ at Fort Bragg in North Carolina. Hayden's from North Carolina. Hunter's from Arizona. Shay is from Louisiana. Military life for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So Mary Claire, I'm in this a variety of braces, 24 hours a day. I can take them off just to shower. And it has to be completely immobilized with like not any movement of the elbow, the arm. I can move the hand, but that's it. For 3 weeks. And we're waiting to get into orthopedics to see if it's going to need surgery or not. I'm hoping it won't. All right, guys, it's 3:48. I'm going to stop us there. I'm shooting for Mondays in case something, if something happens with my shoulder or whatever. I got totally off on my live streaming schedule, which I try to be really reliable, teaching my daughter to do backflips. Oh, no, I wasn't doing backflips. I did gymnastics as a kid, so I was spotting her. So, you just get down on one knee, you put one knee up, and then you put your hand out and you teach them to do a back bend, right? And to look back for the ground and then grab it with their hands. And then you help them flip over their legs. And in the flipping over of her legs, she kicked and it jerked my arm and it tore the ligament, but it was already probably partially torn. Yeah, the collarbone is sticking up. It is. If you go to Rumble, you can see on my Rumble channel, just Penny Wittbrodt. You can see on my Rumble channel, I posted a picture of the separation. That's not actually my X-ray because they wouldn't give me my X-ray and I didn't get a picture of it, but that's what my X-ray looks like. Sherry Ballington, I live in Lexington. Well, you're close. Lexington, South Carolina, about 2 hours from Charleston. Nice. Charleston's a beautiful area. Paul, no, wife fell on it and broke some ribs, lived in it, traveling 48 states, capitals from December 2017 till September 2019, staying in Texas for winters. Oh, wow. She fell in it and broke some ribs. Bless her heart. I hope her ribs heal up. That's really a painful injury. Mary Claire says, I'm not a nurse, and the collarbone thing makes me sick. Well, what's funny was I was like, man, that's really swollen up. And I was icing it religiously, and it just wouldn't go down. And it wasn't sore, but I noticed that I could manipulate it. And then I noticed if I pull my shoulder back a certain direction, I can push on it and it clicks. And I'm like, okay, that might be bone. It was pretty bad. M. June says, praying for you, Penny. Take it easy on your shoulder. I'm trying. True West, welcome. I understand. Daryl Davis, like Jesus, takes some people out of their comfort zone with radical love. His TED Talk is gem. I'll have to look at that. I've never heard of Daryl Davis. Thank you. Tim says, I searched also your religion. Jesus is called the Son of God in the Quran. It has been rejected. Oh, that Jesus is the Son of God is rejected in the Quran. Jesus is the prophet and the messenger of God, like all other prophets. Do you believe that Jesus is the Son of God? I believe that Jesus is the Son of God, but I respect your right to believe your own scriptures, of course. Rose says, "Have a beautiful day, everyone. God bless you. God bless you too, Rose." Um, Mary Claire, you have a great day. AJ, I'm hoping you says, I hope your shoulder heals, Penny. Another great live. Praying for your wife, Paul K. Yeah, everybody, please keep Paul K's wife in your prayers. She has stage 4 cancer. Paul's caring for her, and they're in Texas. Paul, just sending a bunch of love your way. I don't know of any way we can bless you, but if you think of something you need, let us know. Um, Marcia, have a nice week to you too. I'll see you guys on Monday at 2. Thank you for joining me for another live stream. I love hanging out with you guys. I'm going to make sure I didn't miss anybody over here on Rumble. It's easy to do. Well, it's not going to let me check. If I missed you on Rumble, I am so sorry. I think I got you. But we will talk again Monday. I'm going to aim for 2 o'clock. I know I was late this time. I apologize, but I'm kind of figuring out what time I need to start getting ready to be ready on time. Michael A10 AIO permanently cured my 3-year HPV which resulted in warts to genital area with Dr. Nelson's locally made herbal medicine. Within a month, get in touch with him on Dr. Nelson Salem 10 at gmail.com. There you go. Frugal Tinkerer, prayers and peaceful night to all of you. Yes, prayers to everyone. Prayer to Paul. Paul, what is your wife's name? I want for us all to be able to. And is there a specific prayer that you need for her, Paul? I like to have directed prayer, so it's specifically to what she might need. I'll wait on that because I want to be able to write that down. Let me get my little sticky pad up here so I can take that note. Oh, move the shoulder. Let's add here Paul K. Paul K. Wife stage 4 cancer. Ow, cancer. You guys are in Texas. Okay. Yes, I will pray us out. I just was waiting for Paul to finish up. Our pastor, his dad had a stroke, and he would post online for specifically what we needed to pray for that day. And God was just so good in granting those prayers. I was just amazed at how praying in a very pointed way benefited his dad so much. Breast cancer, whole body. Okay. What's her primary problem? Is she pain? Because it's, I realize she's got metastasis everywhere. Metastasized. Dear Paul, we praying for your wife. Stacy's so sweet. You guys are so wonderful. Christy Jones, bye. Okay, I'm going to pray us out on that note. Heavenly Father, I just thank you for bringing us all together today for another tea time chat. And it's just so fun to get to know people and hear about their lives and their cultures and their troubles and concerns and for us all to become community and lift each other up in a way that's new. I mean, we never could do this sort of thing before. And Father, I would pray over everybody who is experiencing separation from family for whatever reason. I pray that you would soften the hearts of family members who are pushing others away for whatever reason and help them see they're not the center of the universe and that they do need these family members in their lives. Father, we would pray for Paul's wife. She has stage 4 cancer, metastasized breast cancer, and we would just pray for complete healing for her, first of all. And if this is her time and this is how her spirit's plan is going, we would pray that this would be a good transition for both of them. And we know that there is no death. There's just alive and super alive in your arms. And we would pray for Paul and for comfort for Paul and for him to have all of the provision that he needs to take care of his wife and provide for her and comfort her and support her through this time of being sick. And I would just pray that this would be a phenomenal time in their lives, that they would see you move in such big ways all around them, not only in their own lives, but in everything that they set their hand to. Father, I pray for everybody who's feeling lost and hopeless and lonely, people who feel like they don't know what their place is in life. I mentioned the Operation Solid Lives class to them so they could learn more about you and learn about who you really are and who they really are in you. And I would still encourage people that way. Father, just watch over us as we go into Thanksgiving. We thank you for everything that you do for us and help us to notice everything that you do for us. I think it's really easy for us to um, take for granted just the daily things that you do in our lives. And we just thank you for this time together. And we look forward to doing this again on Monday. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen, guys. All right. I got Paul's wife down here. Okay, so she's having pain in joints and not eating or hungry. Hey, Paul, do you guys, are you guys still doing treatment or does she have hospice on board? I had a friend in North Carolina, I think. She's passed now, but um, she was really struggling with pain and but wasn't getting treatment anymore. And I was surprised that they hadn't recommended hospice so that she could have her pain relieved and actually enjoy the time that she had left without being miserable all the time. Um, oh, blessings to you, Margaret. Blessings to you, Stacy. Love to you guys. Keep that in mind, Paul. And amen, Emily. That those options are out there, and it's really hard to have it metastasized all over. Just very painful when cancer moves around like that. Paul, um, you're watching on YouTube, so yeah, leave me a comment if there's anything specifically that you need that I can pray about, or anything. I mean, we'll try to do whatever we can to help you and your wife out. Seen God move in all kinds of ways. She's treatment still, but it's not working. Okay. Um, Yeah, we'll definitely be praying for that, and definitely I would ask them to refer you on to, I think you can still get palliative care and get treatment. Now, that's different than hospice. Palliative care would be, um, directed toward making sure that her pain is relieved and that she's as comfortable as she can be. So definitely, palliative care is so important. And in a lot of places, you don't have to stop treatment and go with hospice to get palliative care. You can get palliative care while still getting treatment. So definitely ask. I'm surprised. Hopefully, the doctors have offered that to you because you definitely want her to be able to be comfortable and enjoy her time. Um, yeah, Frugal Tinkerer says hospice is crucial for palliative care, but, I know here in Kentucky and in many other states, you can get palliative care without having to stop treatment and do hospice. And if she's still wanting to do treatment, then, that's kind of where you're at with that. But I will definitely be praying. Like I said, if you need something, prayer, anything I can, advice I can offer, I will definitely, do what I can. Um, And I'll keep checking in, and I do check on your guys' comments and everything to make sure you're okay, something's not come up, you don't have a question or need something. So if you need something, leave it in the comments section because I do check that every couple days. All right, guys, we're gonna close it out here so you can get back to your lives, and we will talk to you on Monday, and I will be doing a live stream Thursday night. It's not this kind of stuff, it's current events, politics, the latest with COVID, all that kind of stuff. So if you're not caught up in that, that's on Rumble. Um, but you can find me there if you wanna watch those videos and join in on that as well. So we will talk to you guys soon. Love you whole big bunches.